Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with a highly requested video topic. Now, I don't think this video is going to do all that well because I know this game isn't my bread and butter, but I really wanted to talk about Death Stranding, and a lot of you wanted to hear my thoughts on the most recent trailer and overall my opinion on this game. I'm going to warn you right now, you're going to see some pretty hot takes in this video because I'm not the biggest Hideo Kojima fan. I love Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. I think they are absolutely fantastic games. I enjoyed the story in 4 and I thought 5 was a complete mess. Whether that was Konami's fault or Kojima's fault, I don't care. It was a messy game. The story was incomplete, nonsensical. It was like Peace Walker all over again. And after about 30 hours, I dropped the game because I lost complete interest and I have not looked back from that decision. But after Metal Gear Solid 5, naturally we saw the reveal of Death Stranding, a brand new series coming from the mind of Hideo Kojima. And up until just a few days ago, we had absolutely no idea what this game was. And I was not in the camp of folks who were like, I have no idea what's going on, but I love it and I'm excited, because I think that's a very strange standpoint. I like to know what I'm excited about, right? Whether it's a series or a concept, I can get excited about the idea of things, but when you see things happening on screen, you have no idea what's going on, even after trailer breakdowns. To me, that doesn't excite me. It confuses me and upsets me because I like to understand things fully. And so when I finally saw this recent Death Stranding trailer, I am actually on board with the game because guess what? I understand what's worth being excited about. We saw some gameplay, we understand the themes of the title, we actually know some of the story here. All that type of stuff is very crucial to being excited about a game, in my opinion, and I'm just not that type of person anymore, at least, where I can just get hyped off of namesake alone. It's a Kojima game, oh my god. I just have never been that type of guy when it comes to his titles. Don't get me wrong, if it was someone like Todd Howard who went off and made his own studio, and if his first new IP was coming out, I would be trying to figure everything out about the game. So I understand where people are coming from just from the outside looking in, and after their most recent game being a bit messy and not as good as his previous work, I'd at least reserve some of my excitement, which the same thing would apply for Todd Howard after 76 and 4 being a little more action focused, a little more streamlined, taking away from the roots of the series. I would reserve some of my excitement for that initial title. But anyway, when it comes to Death Stranding, I now get it, because what I like here from what I saw in this trailer is that we have a AAA game that actually doesn't hover all on the action. It's actually about tension, about the world space, something that you don't see in these AAA games where they like to focus on combat, explosions, things constantly happening every 15 seconds, the 15-second open world rule. You don't see that in Death Stranding, it feels like. It seems like the dynamic encounters are really what drive the game, and those happen in moments where you don't pull out a gun and try to solve your problems that way, but you stop moving, you crouch, and you try to navigate what is standard open world environment in a different way. We saw Norman Reedus or Sam pop out a giant ladder, lie it down, and start scaling a wall, and then afterwards he took a rope down. So the traversal is kind of the main core mechanics in the game, and I really like that as someone who's driven by exploration in titles, because it shows that the tension combined with the exploration is going to be the main driving force of the gameplay, and I like that. Some may call it boring, and I exactly understand why, because I think in many ways it can be boring, but in a AAA space, I find it very daring where they know that action and excitement are what's really going to sell. But I also think nowadays PlayStation has established itself enough where if you have a exclusive first-party title, their marketing really does a lot of the work, and it brings a lot of attention to the game. My other really exciting aspect is less about the title and more about the development of Death Stranding. You see, we live in a time where we learn more and more about game development. We've seen titles like Anthem, which are heavily mismanaged. We've seen Final Fantasy VII Remake, which has been in development for how many years now? We saw Kingdom Hearts 3. Those are some of the main notable mismanaged products that took forever to get out, or were worked on for so many years and came out in a complete and utter mess. But yet we see here with Death Stranding where when Kojima left Konami, he was acquired by PlayStation, he started putting together a staff, and in about 3 to I think 4 years, he has made Death Stranding with this team, and it's now dropping in November of 2019. I think that shows that what you have there is a very strong leader, a guy who has a vision and understanding of what he wants to do, and he chases after it. And that's what excites me about the game too. It shows that there was a clear goal for the title and it was managed well. And granted, some of the Sony bucks probably helped with moving things along, hiring people. I get that aspect entirely. It's a first party exclusive. You want to make sure that type of stuff is smooth. But still, I think that the way Kojima really managed to put this team together is very, very special. It's something that we don't see as often nowadays, and it's something that I actually complimented in my A Plague Tale Innocence review, where I highlighted that the game clearly showed it had a goal to be emotional, to be story-driven, and to thrive off its characters, and it successfully did that, and it showed that there was a great amount of product management here. Now, the trailer itself could be vague for some. I thought it spelled out a lot of parts I was curious about quite clearly, but all you have to simply do if you're still in that camp of lost but excited is head over to Hideo Kojima's Twitter, where he explains the concept of the game, along with some of the background of actors and actresses, why he selected them, alongside if they're actually being acted by the person or if they're just 3D scans being put into the game and then someone else is acting as them. For example, he says Death Stranding is not a stealth game. It is a brand new action game with the concept of connection, Strand. I call it social strand system, or simply strand game. Tomorrow is in your hands, which is pretty much the tagline for the game. Furthermore, we also have a synopsis of the story coming from Hideo Kojima. People have built walls and become accustomed to living in isolation. Death Stranding is a completely new type of action game where the player's goal is to reconnect isolated cities and a fragmented society. All elements, including the story and gameplay, are bound together by the theme of strand or connection. As Sam Porter bridges, you will attempt to bridge these divisions and in doing so, create new bonds or strands with other players around the globe. Through your experience playing the game, I hope you'll come to understand the true importance of forging connections with others. Now please enjoy the latest Death Stranding trailer. And to me, that's all you need to hear. That's a general synopsis of the game, what the point of the story is, what the goal is, the themes inspiring it, and I like the sound of that because also we can see that he's dragging a little bit from personal experience where he went through a really tough time at Konami. He clearly is dragging from that experience and saying connections are important, friendships are important. Establishing those, quote, strands, end quote, is very important. And for me personally, I like when a creator gets deep, gets transparent, and can show us what exactly they mean through their work and how they were feeling and how they dealt with it. I think it's going to be a very moving game, a powerful game that could speak to a lot of people. So like I said, main point of this part of the video, just to show you guys that all is not as vague as I think it's been made out to be ever since the last trailer we just got. Last but not least, it's no secret that Kojima loves his movies, and we see a lot of that cinematography make its way into his games. And I always liked that personally, although sometimes it felt like it didn't fit, it felt a little forced. I did always enjoy it because what it gave was his games this different feel. It felt like it elevated the medium in a unique way, where we see such a widespread appreciation for movies. There is that less amount of secrecy there where we, for example, already know X, Y, and Z about the Marvel movies and all the stuff that's coming up. And we see that type of culture being brought into Death Stranding with open transparency about the development, about the trailers that were constantly releasing, even though we had no idea what was going on. We still got a lot about this game over time, and Kojima was very open with us. But over the course of all those trailers, we noted one thing, which was that you could see clear inspiration from movies in the way filming was done, and the way camera angles were used. They weren't your standard video game cutscenes. It's really hard to word. It wasn't like a first-person perspective. There were just sharp angles used. Sometimes, for example, in a lot of Japanese-driven games, we see usually those wide camera lens shots where we see just a full length of open land and then two characters on the end. You usually see those types of inspirations from film put in video games, but there's just a different feel about Kojima's games that it's really hard to put your finger on, and I guess that's what makes it special, right? But anyway, at the end of the day, Death Stranding has me excited because A, I know what it's about, B, I really appreciate the themes, C, it's pretty marvelous what the team has actually managed to pull off given the time they have had on the game, and D, I gotta say it again, man, we know what it is. That is so important to know what you're excited about. I always said this with CD Projekt Red. People were freaking out that they have another game in development and it's coming in 2021, and I always said to people, yeah, sure, it's great that we have another CD Projekt Red game coming, but let's find out what it is and then get excited. And the same thing happens with Death Stranding, in my opinion. I had no clue what it was, so I very passionately did not give a shit about the game because I had no clue what it was. When Kojima finally released a synopsis for the story, a trailer detailing things, we saw the actors. I mean, that trailer was marvelous, by the way. The conclusion has been stuck in my head ever since we saw it. There was something really special about that. But anyway, once I understood it, it's like, oh, all right, now I'm on board. So those are my general thoughts on Death Stranding and how it has finally won me over. I'm sure some of you out there are pretty disappointed in my Kojima opinions, and to that I do not apologize. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Death Stranding in the comments down below. Do fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that as it fuels all the content I create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.